2013 began, as it does every year, in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge with an action-packed race at Daytona.
Look at that side-by-side action. That is awesome stuff.
The Grand Sport class produced a back-to-back pair of winners, while Street Tuners saw an inspiring debut victory. What happens now is anyone's guess, because round 2 is at the Circuit of the Americas, and today's action will feature more than 60 sports cars on the Formula One road course. Race 2 from Austin, Texas starts now. It's always a special occasion when a racing series visits a new racetrack. But when that track hosts a round of the Formula One World Championship, there is a very special buzz throughout the paddock and down the pit lane. And so it is as we welcome you to round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013 from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Welcome to Conti coverage here on Speed. Now, the comparisons are inevitable. Last November, the Formula One cars were here. You and I will never get to drive those state-of-the-art racing cars. But today, we're going to watch the cars we do drive every day. 4, 6, and 8 cylinders divided into 2 classes, the big-engine Grand Sport cars and the high-revving, nimble street tuners. But, Calvin, no matter what kind of car you're driving, when you go to a new racetrack, you've got a long to-do list.
Bob, it's very exciting to be here. The drivers are really ramped up to be out there. It's very challenging, this racetrack, very technical. Now, they've learned how to get around the race circuit. Now they need to learn how to race here. It's a lot of real estate here at Circuit of the Americas. There's wide open entries to some of these corners. It's very tempting to dive down the inside. Expect a lot of spectacular racing action here today, as we always see in this championship, Dorsey.
Now, to that extent, 2 different classes racing here today. A lot of race cars out there in an unusual situation. This racetrack is extremely fast. It demands a lot of braking. So for a Grand Sport car, if you run that car really hard early on and you get in mixed up with the smaller cars, you might be out of brakes before the race is over. And if you do a brake change here, your day is done.
And now the Formula One cars thought with 24 cars on track, they had a lot of traffic. This field is more than 60 with a big speed differential between GS and ST. Here's a look at the starting grid across the top of your screen as we turn to our talking points for today's Grand Sport division.
Well, we have 2 dominant forces that came out of the box really strong in Daytona. The Roush Mustang won there. The Ron Bum team was second. Can they stay on top throughout the course of this championship season? New car smell. Empring and Ferrano on debut with their Aston finished 3rd. The Aston has to be looking for a win here soon, Dorsey.
And Roush rebound. Roush Racing lost the number 51 Mustang when Joey Atterbury crashed in a testing accident. Now, you can use up to 3 replacement cars during the season, but this was an unofficial test, so they don't lose that car. What's important here is his teammate, Shelby Blackstock. Now, that might not be a household name yet, but his mother certainly is. Country superstar Reba McEntire is here to watch her son race today.
As Calvin mentioned, a Roush Mustang won the season opener at Daytona International Speedway. Brian Till has more on that story.
Well, Bob, Billy Johnson, Jack Roush Jr. find themselves exactly in the same spot they were last year at this time, and that is coming off a victory at Daytona. But, Billy, the last couple of seasons, you and Jack have been so strong, but little hiccups along the way have cost you the championship. What has this team done in the offseason to make sure that those hiccups aren't there and you guys can be on top at the end?
We have to go through every single part of the car. It's always a 10-cent item that ruins a race, and unfortunately the 51 saw that at Daytona, and we just have to go through every little thing and do our best. But for here, this track is awesome. It's a lot of fun. Love driving on it, and really excited for the race. But we weigh over 60 pounds more than any other car, and it's just weight with these curbings. Any car can brake, so that's going to be a playing factor, and hopefully we'll be able to avoid issues with the curbing here and come home with a decent finish.
Well, Billy Johnson, Jack Roush Jr. are going to win this championship. They're going to have to stay in the saddle of that Mustang all season long, because 2013 in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series is going to be one wild ride.
And Texan-born and bred Brian Till has come, what shall we say, fully optioned for Circuit of the Americas in Austin. Now let's talk about the ST class, Calvin.
Well, there was a huge and very pleasant surprise at Daytona. The Skull Candy Nissans came out on top and had a second car in the top 10. Compass 360, always a force here in ST, had 3 cars in the top 8, Dorsey.
And spring training. C.J. Wilson, car owner, of course, is in Tempe, Arizona, tuning up for his baseball season. In the meantime, his man, Chad McCumbee, put his Mazda MX-5 number 3 on the pole.
Now, there is a home team to cheer for here in Austin, Texas. It's the C.J. Wilson Racing Mazda MX-5s. With more on that, here's Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, Chad McCumbee and Jason Saney finished 16th at Daytona, but that super speedway really not suited for this MX-5. This very technical Texas track, the perfect platform for that MX-5. Jason, you guys got the pole, but how cool would it be for this hometown team to come away with the win? And how cool is it to be here in pit lane where the Formula One cars were just a couple months ago?
Yeah, it's fantastic. This is a great place. They've invited us here for the first lap ceremony. We got to be out here, and they've been really welcoming. And we're the only Grand Am team based in Austin. So, you know, for all the crew are sleeping in their own beds. Everybody's here, families here. So to get a win here would be huge for CJ. Is pitching his first game today. So we're looking for a win for CJ today.
Good luck today, Bob.
In fact, good luck. And the green flag is in the air, and the field of 61 cars is loose in Austin.
Look at Aschenbach from the outside of the front row, trying to take advantage of our pole sitter Jade Buford down into turn one. Tricky corner, Doss.
It is indeed. You can get it wrong there. These guys on the inside got to slow a lot more than the guys on the out, and they got to give room for one another.
More than down into turn one, it's up into turn one. 130 feet of vertical elevation change on this track, 100 of it right there in turn one.
Well, Edwards there has had a good start there in the Stevenson Camaro up to third. Rumbum currently runs fourth.
Here comes the ST class with their own separate start.
Chad McCumbee on the front row alongside Corey Fergus has to run up to turn one, but big hill to climb like you just said, Bob.
Remember, you can brake really late here, particularly from the initial slower start than you'll get here on a flying lap. So it's almost like you don't need to tap the brakes even there for turn one, so that's an adjustment.
Little argy-bargy in the middle, Calvin. A couple cars making contact. Everybody through clean, however.
Now, you noticed one of the cars going off, four wheels behind the curbing there. The drivers were warned in the drivers' meeting that if they get a little too exuberant, four off, means you be very careful about getting bet on track. Do not gain a competitive advantage, and don't do it often.
So the gunslinger there, Chad Gilsinger there in the 93 Hot Civic, really looking for an opportunity to get through. Look at that, three-wheeling through some of these corners. A lot of G-force, a lot of cornering load through those S's, and that is really going to put a load on these Continental tires. And also, we talked about it, Dorsey, the brakes. There's a lot of heavy brake zones here for these cars.
I like being aggressive on the out lap, though, Calvin. No question about it. I like to go really quick on this first lap, get what positions you can get, because right now they're running in class as we have a pass for the lead or an attempt.
Look at this down into turn 11. We talked about those wide open entries. Can that little Mazda rebound? Cut back underneath Corey Fergus heading down this long straightaway.
He does indeed get himself positioned. We're going to see this all day as these guys get to race this track. Learn how to race here, as you said, Calvin.
I tell you what, that last lap, this racetrack, if we're in a battle, I tell you what, it's going to be a doozy, because there are so many opportunities to take some risks around this race circuit, as wide as it is.
Here's a look at our Continental Tire race analysis on the first visit for the series here at Circuit of the Americas. 2.5 hour timed event. 27 GS cars, 33 in the street tuner class. There you see the pole winners. Jade Buford is now 2 for 2 for fast laps in 2013.
Yeah, come out of the box really strong. Jade, great performance again in qualifying yesterday. Second consecutive pole, second of his career, and that Aston Martin has looked awfully strong. But up front, Aschenbach currently holds the point in the Camaro.
Aschenbach over Jade Buford, the pole sitter. Jonathan Edwards third in a Camaro, then Nick Longy.
Dallalana's had a great start. He's up in the top 5, so BMW's trying to rebound here a little bit from what was an awful Daytona opening for the Turner Motorsports team.
Let's get more on our leader now with Brian.
Well, talking to that team that Lawson Aschenbach and Eric Current drive for, CKS Racing, that Camaro handling well around here, especially over the curbs. But Lawson saying, especially in these cool ambient temperatures, as well as a very cool racetrack right now, it could take as many as 4 laps before he really gets tire temperature and tire pressure. But right now, that Camaro, maybe they found something between last night and today, because he's really beginning to put some distance between himself and the Aston Martin behind.
That's a really good point, Brian, about the suspension setup on the Camaro, because it can take advantage of these relatively low curves.
Back to the ST battle at the top of the hill, turn 1, on board the number 25.
Huge elevation drop coming off of turn 1. Obviously the big climb up the front straightaway to turn 1, and then it plows down into these S's. Very exciting racetrack. We took a couple of laps here last night with Chris Neville behind the wheel, which was really scary, but we hung on and survived.
Derek White is right on board with him right now. One thing we did see last night when they were doing the racetrack driving around was they were cleaning this track, and they were replacing or moving some of the bump strips. Looks like a very clean racetrack right now. There's no rubber out there at all.
As you can see, a cloudless sky. It's been very cold in the mornings here in Austin, but it warms up. Current temperature probably in the 50s, and that, of course, affects grip.
Corey Fergus there looking really strong. Now, RSR Civic, pole sitter from Daytona, Ryan Ellis up to second. Brian.
Problems down in the pits right now for one of the Mitchum Motorsports BMWs, the number 63 of Safina and Canavis. Crew going to work underneath. It looks like perhaps there's some type of a vibration or a problem in the drivetrain. The crew underneath looking at the drive shaft and now the rear end of this BMW, but this is going to set them well back. Not what they wanted to see this early on here at Circuit of the Americas, Cal.
Josephina started the car. Brian's right. In a race as hectic as the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, you do not want to spend any more time than you have to in the pits. Got a break coming up, and we'll be back to the Circuit of the Americas. There's your top 5 in GS.
Monday night, as his drivers are picked off one by one, John unleashes his secret weapon.
The Super Chicken!
All new Are You Faster Than a Redneck? Monday night at 9 Eastern, only on Speed.
Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. Welcome back to the beautiful Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. There's the Dragon Tower. One of the key features of this track stands at the top of a beautiful performing arts venue, an amphitheater, where a variety of terrific recording acts will be visiting Circuit of the Americas later this year. Well, let's have a look at the racetrack from high above. Dorsey?
Down from Google Earth, we look at the great state of Texas. Of course, Circuit of the Americas just out of Austin city limits. You see Fort Worth, Houston there. We'll drop down in. Beautiful racetrack, 3.41 miles in length, 20 turns of entertainment. And I think Kenny Chesney will be coming here shortly to entertain. I wish I would be here for that.
Well, you could be.
I could be.
Here's a look at our raft of onboard cameras. 26 Mazda MX-5 from Freedom Autosport in the hands of Red Odoski. Eric Whitus is in the 25 car. Mark Bowden has the Fall Line Motorsports number 46 BMW M3. And Richard Gulinello starts the Racer's Edge Motorsports Mustang Boss 302R, the 78 car. There's Lawson Ossenbach being chased by Jade Buford in a battle of Camaro versus Aston Martin. John Edwards runs third in a Camaro, then Nick Longy. Paul Delalena being chased hard by Brent Sandberg.
Yeah, these guys got about 4 or 5 tenths on the rest of the field at this stage, but I think today's race is one where you really have to manage that pace, so you can't afford to burn down these brakes. Buford had the pole. He's shown a little bit more pace, but I think he's driving a great race here. Being patient, just pacing himself off Lawson Ossenbach now. That Camaro had its only win last year at Indianapolis, another first-time venue that we went to. So Cohen and Ossenbach like these new tracks and showing good form here today.
You know, Lawson took off and had a pretty big lead. Now he's backpedaled a little bit. Now everybody in this race right now would be mirror driving, looking at the competition. Like you said, Calvin, it's going to be a lot of racing left to do before we get this one over.
Let's get down to Brian Till with Eric Curran.
Eric Curran sitting in here watching right now as Lawson Ossenbach plies his trade out on the racetrack. Now, you guys, I know, didn't start where you wanted to at the beginning of the weekend, 10th in practice, but you seem to have found the handle on this Camaro. What's been the trick?
Yeah, this 01 Camaro is doing great right now. CKS guys have been working hard all weekend. The only thing we did different is we didn't come here and test. A lot of these front-running teams did, and we've kind of been behind, as you've seen, for the last couple sessions. But by qualifying or by the end of the day in practice before qualifying, we got this CKS Camaro working well, and Loss is up there leading and doing a great job, and we're going to keep plugging away and hopefully finish off right where we are in that spot right now.
Well, welcome to the great state of Texas. What do you think about the Circuit of the Americas? Pretty impressive?
Oh, this place is unbelievable. I mean, I wish all the racetracks looked like this. Happy to be here. Love being at COTA. Love leading the race. Hopefully we finish just this way.
Yeah, they're looking for the checkered flag, but we still got a long way to go, guys.
That we do, Brian.
Curran knows how to get those checkered flags. He had 13 wins in the street turner class, which is still a record, and looking for more success here. Change for the lead.
That's right. Corey Fergus passed by Chad McCumbee.
McCumbee, the pole sitter, has taken that position back over. Once again, these guys run a little bit harder with the lighter weight car, the more agility going into this class. They can run at a higher percentage of full throttle than the taller cars can.
Behind McCumbee and Fergus, Mark Miller runs in third.
Interesting note is McCumbee actually played the role of Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Dale Earnhardt Story, which was a great piece of film there. So, boy, he's been in some big shoes before.
Little tire squeal there.
Singing tire is a happy tire. Isn't that the way it goes?
For a while it is.
That's your audio warning line. You're getting close now.
For comparison, consider that Sebastian Vettel took pole for the U.S. Formula One Grand Prix last November with a lap at about 1 minute 35 seconds for this 3.41 mile track. These cars racing at about 2 minutes 20 seconds and change.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, these are modified street cars after all.
You can take the boy out of the country.
It's a really challenging race circuit, and I think it's actually more suited to these ST cars than the GS cars, Dorsey. See a great battle there as that second of those Mazdas putting pressure on Fergus. Now, I think the GS cars with a heavier weight, they really feel the effects down through this constant changing of direction. You got that load, that weight moving around. You haven't really worked the tires hard to get through this section.
Those laps we took around here last night gave us great respect for what these guys are doing right now, because like you said, Calvin, it's deceptive. The camera doesn't show you the elevation change, and the speed of some of these corners is pretty frightening.
Corey Fergus has found a great home here at RSR. Had the win last year at New Jersey, a couple of poles. Very impressive young man. Got a great teammate in Owen Trinkler, and these guys are going after a championship this year.
Last year, Corey was going to these racetracks for the first time. Had never seen him before, and it was his first time in a front-wheel drive car as well.
Corey Fergus comes from a great racing family. Brian Till has more on him.
Yeah, Bob, and his father John is here. He comes to all the races where Corey runs. But right now, that 197, the oldest of the Hondas in the stable there at RSR. And while it handles good, it's just a 2-liter power plant. The other new cars have a 2.4-liter engine. What they say is the problem is just down on a little bit of torque. And some of these hills and these long duration corners here at Circuit of the Americas are going to wear on that. They want that torque. They'll have a new car, hopefully in the next couple of races. But right now, Corey Fergus has his hands full of Mazda.
He does, and Miller just got through, so it's Mazda right now. Corey drops to third.
One of the hallmarks of sports car racing, certainly in the Continental Sports Car Series, is diversity. A couple of Mazdas and a Honda in ST. GM battling with Aston Martin, Porsche, and BMW in Grand Sport. We'll be back to Circuit of the Americas. Tonight here on Speed, Monster Energy Supercross thunders into Daytona, and you'll only see it here. The world's greatest riders battling bar to bar at the World Center of Racing in one of the season's most anticipated events. Supercross coverage begins tonight, 7:30 Eastern, only on Speed. Now let's get you up to speed on this Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge event. GS Field blasted up the hill into that blazing Texas sun, and they went 5 wide immediately.
Wow, Rich Golinello there down on the inside, gets away with it. Looked ugly for a while, Doss.
And we're going to see more of that toward the end of the race. Here's the start of the ST class as they try to negotiate turn 1 on lap 1. And you see 3 wide in a little argy-bargy, you call it, Calvin, right in the middle there.
Everyone bunched up, then problems early for the 63 BMW rear end issues on that race car.
It was later pushed away. Josephina started the car and finished it long before he meant to. Pass for the lead in the ST class early on. Chad McCumbee, who started from pole.
I think these drivers just learning their way around this racetrack and where to take advantage. Then we talk about the traffic, and ST car turns to GS. That at that point was John Edwards running up in the top 3. He recovers nicely.
And look at this, a lot of oil smoke coming out of the 14. This car was in a big accident yesterday. Listen to the driver. He said, I just lost oil pressure. It's not a blown engine though, guys. It's going to be an oil line because it was still running. He shut it down.
And moments ago, Juan LaRue, part of the LaRue brother driving team from Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, had this go-round. On board with Mark Bowden as he comes through the corner and just gets around the stranded LaRue.
Plenty of runoff room here at Circuit of the Americas. Really makes it a very safe racetrack. Here we see traffic again. That's the gunslinger getting out of the way of Nick Longy and John Edwards.
Sees the overall leaders coming by, and of course he's doing a really good job in his class and moves out of the way. There's a lot of room to move here.
This is for third behind leader Lawson Ossenbach, then Jade Buford. This battle, Longy and Edwards. Shelby Blackstock started his Mustang 10th. He's now up into 5th.
He has been on the charge in that 51 car, Dorsey. It hasn't been an easy weekend for those guys, but they've rebounded nicely.
Yeah, like I said, they went to a backup car. Luckily, Roush carries a couple of those cars. There wasn't a lot of work that needed to be done to it. So 26 doing a driver change already down on pit lane.
Well, just looking at the strategy here, after 30 minutes, you score driver points. We're past that point in the race now, so starting driver will get points. Just trying to run the numbers here a little bit. They'll take fuel, and if they can really stretch it, get a little bit of help with caution, which I'm surprised we haven't seen any yet. Maybe these guys don't have to hit visit and hit pit lane again for fuel today.
Saw the Semperfi.org organization, the charity fundraising by the Freedom Autosport team. A number of cars throughout the field doing their best to raise awareness and funding for various charities around the country. And we're happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, these ST cars can really stretch their fuel mileage. About an hour 30 for some of those guys. Now we see the Phoenix Performance team now running a Mustang. So often they've campaigned that Subaru. Early pit stop for those guys.
Been watching on Facebook as these guys have posted as they built this car. Nice looking Mustang. And of course that team very, very competent, running a lot of different cars during the year.
And again, Joe Aquilani, one of the best strategists in the business. He's been around a long time, just working the numbers here. They'll be able to now stop. GS car goes about an hour, so it should be one more stop for these guys for fuel. Oh, here we see a bit of an issue. One of the Boxsters here.
And it's
stuck in the gravel. He is.
He's dug himself in. This will probably give that caution that you were talking about, Calvin. Unless they just go with a local here. He's got the rear wheels buried.
Let's see what happened.
Oh, that was ugly. That just kept ugly.
Big old tank slapper. Pat Heptig started the car, sharing with John Weisberg.
And there's our full course caution that you talked about, Bob.
There we go. First one. It looked like he got across the gravel trap.
And put himself back in it.
And put himself back. Well, there you have it. Oh, this looks like an impact.
Different.
Up at turn 1, 78 Mustang Boss 302. That's Richard Gallinello getting out of the Racer's Edge Motorsports car.
And another car crash there. Yeah, that's got their left rear behind the tire. Okay. Oh, he's going to hit him big time right here.
Oh, this is what we talk about, these wide open entries. It's so inviting there, and someone takes that late turn in. They're just sitting there, and Rich Gallinello, he's very aggressive on the initial start and just got in way deep there.
Think probably, you know, he got in there way too hot, got into the ABS, and you can see there was no stopping it. We talked about this happening toward the end of the race. Once you make that cut for turn 1, you are broadside to anybody who does such a bad move like that. And both these cars are done. Look at the rear suspension towed out. It'll limp its way back around, but it won't be racing anymore.
McIntosh in the BMW.
Yep, another one of the Mitchum Motorsports cars. They have not had a good day thus far here at COTA.
Beautiful race cars. That team does such a great job. Been stalwarts in the GS class, now running these ST machines.
McIntosh sharing with Izzy Sanchez Jr. as Gallinello walks away. We'll take this opportunity for another break here on Speed and be back with more of the Continental Tire Series Sports Car Challenge after this big impact brought out our first full course caution. Stand by for more from Austin, Texas. Expect to go green shortly here in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, so let's get you up to speed. Big moment here for the number 50 Porsche Boxster of Pat Heptig.
Yeah, he got it stuck in a gravel trap. Yellow came out, and then this happens, Calvin.
Well, going down up into turn 1. Rich Gallinello makes a big dive down the inside of ST cars, and then there's someone else turned across his bow. T-bones him. Heavy impact for both drivers. Both cars are out.
That was Pat McIntosh in the BMW. Then it was time for pit stops under the full course caution.
So a number of the GS leaders pit. A couple stayed out. Don't quite understand that strategy. You should be able to do it on one more stop for fuel here today. And here we see a very sick John Edwards leaping out of the Stevenson car. And here's the 0-1 that have had a great start to this race. Rump team executing perfectly, led by Joe Vardy. They leapfrog around the guys that pitted. A couple of the leading cars stayed out there.
That's a car will play into the overall effects of this race at 13. We always know to be there at the end.
And here's an unusual problem for Michael Valiente in his Honda Civic SI. The hood comes up, obscuring his view. Word from the pit lane is Michael came down with his head out the window like a hound dog trying to catch the air.
Fortunately, he broke the windshield, so he's behind the wall.
Green, 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 green.
And with that, we go green once again. And Shelby Blackstock, who started his Mustang 10th, he did not pit. He is now on the lead. Same story for Brent Sandberg behind him. No pit stop. They run 1-2.
A great restart for Shelby. There's new regulations in place for this year. As soon as that safety car peels off, the leader can take off, Dorsey, and he did it. You don't have to wait for an acceleration zone. You can just go.
And I applaud that new rule. I like that. The leader should be able to take off and race whenever he needs to go. Once that pace car's off the racetrack, he's got control.
Ryan Sellers now behind the wheel of the 46 machine. We're on board. We're taking over from Mark Bowden. Good pit stop by those guys. Have made a pit stop. Currently set fourth. Second of the cars that have pitted here today.
Give you a good look at how tight the Circuit of the Americas are. I mean, one car at a time is one thing, but when you got all these 61 cars out there at once, different story.
Team car in the hands of Brent Sandberg runs second, but as I mentioned, they did not pit. More on that. Let's get to the pit lane.
Yeah, Bobby, the fault line decided to split the strategy between the 45, 46, and 48 car. The 45 and the 46 running third and fourth right now. They came in, they pitted, and so they decided to try and go with a one pit stop strategy with the 48 car. So they're going to stretch the fuel on that car as long as they can. With about 70 minutes to go, they'll bring that car in, and then they're going to have to hope for a caution in that last 70 minutes of the race.
These courses are pretty lengthy, as we've just seen, so you do save a lot of time, a lot of fuel time if you do get another caution, but there's a real gamble because the car was running strong towards the front of the pack anyway.
Watching Hugh Plum there in the 45 BMW for a moment, and he got knocked or either drove four wheels off. There's a penalty for that. I suspect since he's such a good driver, he probably got help getting pushed out there. I doubt there'll be a penalty because of that.
Let's hear from the driver of the car who led most of the early running of this race. Lawson Aschenbach is with Brian Till.
Well, Eric Kern has taken over the 0-1. Lawson, one of the things that we talked about coming into this racetrack was how brakes were going to be such an important factor. How difficult was it for you to conserve brakes on that Camaro and make sure that Eric has something to run to the checkered with?
Yeah, of course. We kind of knew coming in from some of the guys that tested here that we were going to have brake issues. So we did everything we could before the weekend started to try to get the things as cool as possible, have enough pad, and so forth. So fortunately, it seems like it's working out pretty good. You know, it's kind of one of those deals at the beginning of the race. If you get a lead, you got to back up and just try to chill out a little bit. And then when you get into traffic and some of the lap cars, you got to really be aggressive. So it's mostly just being important about just leaving the brakes for Eric. But, you know, I got to say hats off to everybody here. The Team Chevy, CKS Autosport, Camaro GSR was fast. We were a little bit behind the 8 ball coming in this weekend because we didn't test here. But, you know, these guys really know what they're doing, and they give us a great car.
The car looks strong right now. From one fast Camaro driver to another, we'll head back to Chris Neville.
Well, John Edwards just handed over to Matt Bell. And, John, the story this weekend has been how sick you are. Initially, you thought you had the flu, but now it sounds more like food poisoning.
Yeah, it looks like food poisoning, but a bad case of it, unfortunately, lasting a few days. And had a really high fever on Thursday, so I only got 3 laps in the morning of the test day. And then the team sent me home when I started shivering and had my teeth chattering. So didn't feel real good this morning, but just made sure to get a little bit of food and whatever fluids I could this morning. And then after I got some adrenaline pumping from the race, I got out of the car feeling like new. So I don't even feel sick right now, but I'm sure after the adrenaline wears off, I'm gonna crash here in a little bit. So I'm planning to go back and rest at the hotel since we've got a long break before the Rolex race, and be ready to go for that one as well.
Well, it sounds like you did a good job of taking care of the brakes on that Camaro. As we've heard in GS, these teams very concerned about the brake wear at this racetrack.
And as you can tell from what John Edwards said about the Rolex race coming up, it is a long day here at the racetrack for a number of drivers in this field, competing both in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race and the Rolex Series race on the same day.
To Lawson's point about the brakes, Dorsey, it's one thing to pace yourself at the front, but when you get into traffic, you've got to put it down the inside, and that's when you can really load those brakes up and burn them down.
The guy in the move right now is in second place, Brian Sellers. We see him there in the Fall Line Motorsports BMW, and he has made the moves. He is right behind now Shelby Blackstock, our leader, who got that great start we talked about.
Bill Orblin now behind the wheel of the 96 machine. Those guys trying to rebound from a mechanical failure at Daytona, and that's a big hole to dig yourself for the championship, but they're trying to rebound here. 13 car starting to put pressure on that Aston that is not for position. The 15 is a lap down.
Let's get to Chris Neville in the pit lane.
Now, Calvin, you were just talking about that mechanical issue on the 96 BMW at Daytona. I was just talking with Will Turner about that, and he said it was something in the ignition system that caused that engine to blow up. And the problem is that happened once again here on Thursday. And after Daytona, they ripped all the wiring out of that car, put all new wiring, ignition system in that car. They thought that would take care of it, but then the problem here on Thursday came back, blew up another engine. So this team very confused, very frustrated, because they don't know what the problem is, so they're very worried that that car might not make it to the end.
Spin on track. Thanks, Chris. The 55 goes around, coming down that very fast downhill right-hander.
Scott Maxwell got very lucky right there as he lost that Aston and did a complete 360. Didn't make contact with anything or anybody.
Yeah, and this is one of the more experienced drivers in the field. Here we see him coming through the S's here. Just starts to get loose on him right there. Dorsey tries to hang on, and remember, this was the pole-sitting car, and Scott had a similar problem at Daytona, taking over from Jay Buford, and had an off and cost him a lot of position. So
I wonder if he suddenly got a glimpse of the 96, that bright yellow Turner Motorsports BMW, Bill Oberlin, right there in his left side.
Well, if you watch that, if we see that again, Oberlin saw that car starting to get loose, and he moved offline immediately. He moved to the outside. He read that wreck really perfectly, gave the room for the car to make that spin.
He had that Nissan drop some oil earlier in the event. I can't imagine that was an issue, but either way, a little bit of a mistake there by Scotty Maxwell. He's got to dig deep now, and here we see some jockeying around here, down into that brake zone. That's Eric Curran trying to defend from what is typically a very aggressive Matt Bell.
Yeah, I'd say that's right. Yeah, they won't make Matt too happy. He'll put a little chrome horn on him here if he needs to.
Back down to the pit lane, and Brian Till.
Shelby Blackstock having a good run in the 51. He shares that car with Joey Atterbury. Joey, you guys elected not to stop on that full course caution like a lot of the other leaders did. A bit of a roll of the dice there?
Yeah, you know, we're starting to be a bit aggressive with the strategy on the 51. Shelby's doing a great job out there. I can't say enough about this Roush 51 crew. I mean, we're in a backup car here. We got smashed the other day, and they worked all night and put this car together, and I just want to say thank you to those guys, because if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here right now leading this race.
Gambling a little bit and looking for the checkered flag, Bob.
Thanks, Brian. Another lap in the books as the clock continues to run here at the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, round 2 for 2013 from the Circuit of the Americas. There's your top 5 in the GS class and in ST. We'll be back. Tomorrow, the Ultimate NASCAR Pre-Race Show is live from Las Vegas. Get the latest news and hear from the drivers before they hit the track in Sin City. NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sunoco, Sunday, 12:30 Eastern, right here on Speed. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas with Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, and Brian Till. I'm Bob Varsha. Round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Continental Tire is the official tire of the CTSCC. Coming to the end of our second full course caution. Let's set up the battle to come.
Well, here we see the leaderboard, and there's some real split strategies. Some people have determined that they need to make that pit stop right now under caution, try and stretch their fuel, and even if there's another yellow, they may be able to just take a splash and leapfrog to the front.
There's the order in ST, as you see, dominated by Mazda up front.
Oh, trouble for them.
Oh, he's in there deep. Matt Plum really deep in the run bump. Car goes really wide through turn 1. We're back under green flag racing.
And Bill Oberlin in that bright yellow BMW M3 moves to the front.
You know what? That was good, though, for Matt Plum. When he got up there and he got in trouble, he did not lock the brakes up. He didn't flat spot those tires. He just gave it up the right time.
Yeah, just didn't have the right tire temperature there, Dorsey, to make that late break into turn 1. Gave it up, and that's where the experience shows. Better to give up a position on the racetrack than lock up one of those Continental tires and create a flat spot.
Yep, you'd be going right back in the pit lane if you did that. He knew he was in trouble right away, and he just aborted that turn in. That's a lot of experience, and that's what this racetrack needs. I guarantee you, this is a trickier racetrack than it looks.
Top 9 or 10 cars have got to get moving. They've got to try and create a gap between themselves and the cars that actually pitted for a second time and are now full of fuel. A little bit of help with another caution. They may able and not have to hit pit lane again today. So some really complicated strategies going on here for the last hour or so of this race.
Well, Kenny Wilden, the number 4 Porsche right there. It's that red and white and silver car that you're looking at with the black Camaro right behind it with a little of evasive driving. He threw a block on Scott Maxwell. I'm not sure that's going to be a happy decision right there.
Boy,
there's trouble.
Oh, a little block up there.
That's the cars I'm talking about. These guys are going at it pretty hard.
A lot of experience up front. Matt Plum, Bill Arbel and Matt Plum. Then Eric Kern, Kenny Wilden, Scott Maxwell.
Previous champions in this mix right here. Wilden's won this championship before, but feeling the heat now from that Camaro. It's been really strong. Oh, what a power move there by Eric Curran. This Camaro is hooked up here today.
An outside pass on one of those corners you wouldn't think could be done. It's a racetrack that's very clean. Like I said last night, they did a great job of getting all the garbage off of it. You wouldn't be able to do that otherwise.
Maxwell took a look down the inside in the white Aston Martin. He's going to try again.
That Porsche is loose.
Aboard the 46 now.
This is Brian Sellers. This is one of the leading GS cars that took the opportunity to top up with fuel. And what does it do for you? Well, you lose track position and you're in the middle of this scrum because everyone pitted together. It was what we call a short yellow. Any caution that comes within 15 minutes of a previous one, everyone can pit together. That means when you go back to green, you're in amongst the ST cars as well.
And for Brian Sellers, he's the fastest car, but he's got nowhere to go with that speed with all those cars in front.
Now pick up the ST class battle. Tom Long leading the way. Down to Chris.
Well, and Derek White is happy to see his car out front right now. And yesterday, Derek, you were telling me how it's always tough to start the season in Daytona because that track isn't suited for the Mazda, but this one sure is.
Well, this is an amazing facility they put out here in Austin, Texas, and it's got just enough corners and the right combination of fast sweepers to allow that little Mazda MX-5 that handles so well to do well. We're pretty excited where we are right now, got our fingers crossed.
And at each event, you guys honor a fallen soldier. This weekend, it's Corporal Christopher Singer. Tell us about that.
Corporal Christopher Singer made the ultimate sacrifice a little bit over a year ago in Afghanistan, leaving behind his wife and beautiful daughter, Brooke and Brianna. And we just like to say hello to all of them and, you know, keep in mind all those servicemen and women who make the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom so we can be here today.
Well, something great this team does every year, and this team telling me that their fuel situation, if we get one more caution, they're good to go to the end.
Everybody's going to be watching that clock at the top of the screen. Now just under an hour and 12 minutes remaining in the race.
Yeah, I think the other thing about this Mazda, Dorsey, they run it pretty stiff in this racetrack. We talk about the configuration. It's also extremely smooth. The F1 boys like a billiard table. As for a race surface, they've got it here.
I actually saw the Mazda hang a rear wheel in the air. Of course, that's a rear-wheel drive car, not a front-wheel drive car. So for it to hike a wheel up and hold it, it's stiff, all right.
Running in second place is Jason Saney from the home team, CJ Wilson Racing. Wilson, of course, all-star pitcher with the Los Angeles Angels now, but a lifelong car guy. And he's putting his money where his passion is into motorsports.
I expect to see some of these body panels falling off. Of course, they're not falling off because they weren't bolted on. They're falling off because this traffic is getting pretty dicey right now. They're pushing and shoving on each other.
We talked about it, Dorsey. You can learn the racetrack, but then you've got to learn how to race around here. And they're suddenly seeing some openings in corners that they didn't think about before. And I tell you what, the last couple of laps, I think it's going to get crazy here today.
I'd put money on that.
Big downshift. Now we've got a penalty situation to tell you about. Here's Brian Till.
Well, Bob, Corey Fergus had a great run in the 197 for RSR Racing. Corey, you led a bunch of... Here, hang on a second. There we go. All right, so you led a bunch out there in that Civic, but when you handed the car over to Owen Trinkler, a problem on that pit stop, a penalty. He's back in 18th. Does he have a car to move forward with?
He does. You know, our Cruise America Honda Civic is doing really well at this track. It seems to suit this track pretty nicely. It's a very rhythmic, technical racetrack, and our Honda seems to like it.
That penalty, it seemed to be for not having the visor down on one of the fuelers, and it's funny that something that small can set you guys that far back. Still a long way to go, and he's got a car to get to the front with.
I do think he has a car to get to the front with. You know, this car is doing a great job here. Our guys are working as hard as possible. A little mistake like that hurts us in the short term, but I think we got a good car for the long run.
And we still got a long way to go. And as competitive as this series is, any little mistake sets you way back. Owen's got his work cut out for him, Bob.
Well, that penalty is to go into your pit lane and stop and be held for 10 seconds for not having proper attire. So it is costly.
But it's all in the name of safety. You can imagine how easy it is for one of the fuelers not to have his visor down in place for his own protection as required by the rules. That could be a big hit for that team. We'll take another break and return with more of round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge from Austin.
Well, Proving Grounds are a 5,000-acre facility located in Uvalde, Texas, which is about a little over 90 miles northwest of here, and we're very fortunate to have that here in the United States with heavy manufacturing here on this continent as well.
Well, you have everything from off-road to wet traction to dry traction and just about everything in between.
We actually compare against the competitor's product as well. Our mantra down there at the Proving Grounds is prove it.
There's testing that goes on literally all year long in Uvalde with not only our testing, but also the automotive manufacturers come there to test tires and test other automotive equipment that they're trying out on their vehicles.
We actually have a glass testing facility with an underground lab where we can run the tires over this glass and get thermal imaging and traction contact patches at live and real speed. So it's a big advantage to us.
And welcome back to the action at Circuit of the Americas. Bill Auberlen in a BMW leads the Grand Sport class. Tom Long in his Mazda MX-5 leads the Street Tuner.
It's not a battle for position. Auberlen has a healthy lead at this point in the game. That's a lap car. I'm not sure if that's the 38 car of Kenny Wilton that just had some problems. I know it's the 83. It's the sister machine from BGB. But there you see Matt Plum. He's about 2.5 seconds back of Billy Auberlen right now after that little mistake when we went to green up into turn 1, Dorsey. But things settling down. But again, these guys making a bit of a gamble on fuel by not taking that caution period.
Good news here again is there's no damage to the 13.0 flat spotted tires, so it was just a miscue. Matt Plum is, I think, driving a guarded race right now. I don't think they're showing all they have yet in that rum-bum Porsche.
Bill Auberlen and his driving teammate Paul Dell'Anna haven't won since the 2011 race at Homestead Miami Speedway in Florida. Let's hear from Dell'Anna now.
Yeah, Paul Dell'Anna likes the looks of that 96 car out front. But, Paul, we know you guys had the engine problems at Daytona. You had engine problems here on Thursday. How concerned are you?
Yeah, you know, I think the team has done an incredible job of figuring out what that problem is. So we're feeling pretty good. We found it wasn't an engine problem. It was more of an electronic problem. So I think we diagnosed it. You know, so far I got to give full credit to the guys for working extra hard.
And Cal, you were talking about the fuel situation with the 96. Just checked with Will Turner. He said they will have to come back to pit lane. Brian?
Well, right now it's BMW and Porsche battling it out for the lead, and GS Nick Longi handed that 13 rum bum Porsche over to Matt Plum. Now, Nick, obviously those two cars are very different, the BMW versus the Porsche. What's going to be the strong suit that Matt has to play, and what's going to be the weak area that he's got to try to protect?
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you because everybody else is listening to this at the same time. No, actually, we have a BMW which we raced before. It's a great car. And, you know, the Turner team is extremely strong. There's a couple teams in this championship that are just very strong. Bill Auberlen's a fantastic driver. We knew it was a little regulation change that happened before this race. You know, the best teams take advantage of that. I mean, he's going fast. He deserves it. We're P2. We're okay. Coming down to a strategy deal here, you know, full confidence in that. Rum Bum team, Rum Bum Racing is really good. It's a beautiful facility, great fans. Right now, I'm pretty happy. I think things are good.
Yeah, I talked to Matt earlier. He said he was happy with that car, both braking and handling. He hopes he has something to do a battle with at the end. Bob?
I think that adjustment he's talking about, Brian, is that the BMW's got a little bit more restrictive for this race. Went from 36 to 38 millimeter, which will give them a little bit more horsepower, and it's showing here today.
A little more air to the engine through that air restrictor. The 13 is one of 4 cars to lead the race thus far today. Also in the lead was the 01 Camaro, the number 51 Boss Mustang, and of course the number 96 BMW M3 in the hands of Bill Auberlen, who leads now. To the ST class battle.
These guys do this like this all year. They'll never separate much more than you're looking at right now. Tom Long leading presently over Jason Saney.
These little Mazdas 1, 2, 3. We talk about how well suited they are to this racetrack. A lot of it is down to the gearing, Dorsey. It's really just hit or miss. They can't change individual ratios on these stock production cars, so it's just how the circuit fits, whether you're in between gears, like whether on the tight corners, whether you can utilize second or third. That's a big factor in terms of your performance here.
These cars running 25, 26, 27 in the overall running behind the GS cars right now. Brian with more on the Mazdas.
Calvin, you were just talking about gears and the Mazda. One of the things Jason Saney said earlier is their engine program is developing, and they're getting better and better with that Mazda power plant. But this year, that little MX-5 has a 6-speed transmission in it instead of the 5-speed that they had last year. Gives them a better leeway in some of these different corners, gives them more options as far as gears go. And that 6-speed and that engine development program really seems to be paying off for CJ Wilson Racing right now.
Well, if you don't have the gearing for the track, Calvin, one of the things you do is you try to rev the motor even higher. And of course, we saw Freedom Autosport have a lot of engine failures as a result of that. They're pushing over 8,000 revs. This is getting dicey.
It is. Five car really putting the pressure on Tom Long. This is what it's all about. We talk about this racetrack. You can run side by side through here, and they're learning where you can do it. Awesome stuff. Tom Long, those guys were gutted at the end of last year. Remember at Lime Rock Park in the finale, they had the championship in their hands, suddenly had an electrical issue, just disappeared down the running order enough to cost them the points in the championship. They took the car out a week later and it ran fine. They're the things that happen in racing that you just cannot understand.
That was not a pass for position earlier. That brightly liveried number 45 BMW is a GS car. Hugh Plum and Al Carter sharing the number 45 car from Fall Line Motorsports. This is the battle for the ST lead, and the 5 has now taken over the lead in class.
And that car was just playing through.
Yeah, they've been awfully tough here. I mean, the Freedom Autosport cars are always quick, but I tell you what, CJ Wilson's team have come here with a pair of very potent Mazdas today.
Steve McAleer takes over, driving with Mark Miller.
Now, you know, one thing about this racetrack is that it's got two extremely long straightaways, and these Mazdas, because they don't have the highest of horsepower, can in fact draft one another and push each other along like you see in stock car racing. Right now, though, these guys are just having more fun than they're allowed to.
Saney's up to second here. He's a man on a charge. Got so much experience in this type of race car.
Distinctive engine sound from the Mazda MX-5. Another break coming up. We'll be back with more of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge from Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. Welcome back to an action-packed round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. The race leader is in, Bill Auberlen. In the Turner Motorsports BMW N3, Chris Neville is there.
Yeah, this is that stop that we talked about, guys. Bill Auberlen coming in for fuel and tires. We've seen some other cars also running in this lead group coming in for fuel and tires. Some of them just taking right side tires. So going to be interesting to see if this team just going to go. It looks like they are too. Also just right side tires on this BMW, waiting for all the fuel to go in, and then they're going to let Bill Auberlen back out. Brian?
Current in the 0-1, the Camaro from CKS Racing. 13 was just in the Rum Bum Porsche moments ago. Right side tires only on that Porsche. Right side tires set up here in the 01, but they've also got left sides set up as well. The fuel going in, the Continental tires going on, and now the crew's going to run around to the left side. They're looking for more of a balance. Joe Vardy told me up at Rum Bum, we just didn't have time to change all 4 tires, so we elected to change 2. Down here at CKS, it's going to be a little longer fuel Yeah, a little longer fueling, so they had the time to get the tires done, but they got hung up a little bit. The stop's taking longer than they wanted, and now they're waiting on tires.
Well, typically, Brian, you want to match the tire change to the fuel stop. They're not taking a full fuel load, so it's a relatively short time where they're stationary. I think what this team is banking on, getting a yellow, everyone's stacked up, and they'll have the freshest race car. You know, 4 tires are going to be better than 2 if it turns into a shootout at the end of this race.
And in case you're wondering why they just don't send more manpower over the wall to get those tire changes and refueling done more quickly, they're not allowed to by rule.
Also, tire wear and tire, per different car is different. That Porsche we know pretty well balanced.
Now, what these teams are gambling on, the ones who made the other pit stop, is a little bit of yellow, because there are guys out there, guys like Billy Johnson. They're now up to second, but they pitted 10 laps ago. They've got to really stretch their fuel. One caution may give them enough leeway to get to the finish, but then those tires are going to be pretty worn out. So they get a caution, helps them on fuel, but then they've got a bunch of fast race cars with fresher rubber behind them. This is the gamble. This is what the strategy is all about. Which call do you make?
This race so different from the season opener at Daytona because the track is so different, about the same length, but so many more corners, a mere handful at Daytona International Speedway. Here there are 20 corners and a lot more heavy braking and accelerating.
And it's a longer lap, Dorsey, too, in terms of the race. The lap is about the same length, but in terms of how long it takes you to get around here is a lot longer. That gives you more leeway on strategy as well. You're not going to go down the lap so quickly.
Really impressed with the amount of grip that, we must have had a penalty on the 00 coming in. The grip that car has when it makes its transitions left or right.
This was our current leader after the other guys pitted. This is Ashley McCalmont behind the wheel of the second of the CKS Camaros. Good run for her today.
Pretty sure they'll do the same thing on this car.
For the pit box, but nobody comes over the, well, now they do.
And this is routine.
You see the left side tires up on the wall, whether they use them or not.
Here's our leader, Billy Johnson. And this is a battle for the lead. Spencer Pumpelly and Billy Johnson pitted 11 laps ago. They're on the same fuel strategy. What do they do now? Do you try and save fuel, wait for that caution, or do you just get the hammer down, create as big a cushion as you can so you can't afford to hit pit lane and have a gap over the rest of the field? Brad Francis will be on the radio to Billy Johnson, giving him the numbers, telling him what he needs to do, the strategy of this race. But look at Spencer Pumpelly, really quick there in the Porsche, putting the heat on Billy Johnson.
He picked up a bunch right on that transition when he switched back. And here he comes looking to the inside. I think that's just showing posture more than anything else.
Different brakes this year on that 61. Billy takes it in real deep, gets a little wide there, couldn't quite get it together and get on the power as early as he'd like to, but even so, Spencer was not able to take advantage.
This makes it 6 different leaders thus far in the race.
Talk about that Roush organization. They've been fast season after season, but getting that championship, they always seem to have a couple of big holes in their points in terms of races that bite them. They've got to be more consistent this year. That's what it's all about. They've got off to a great start again, winning at Daytona. Can they follow up here? Now, Porsche looks really nimble there through that twisty section, Dorsey.
Yeah, that's what I was telling him. He made up so much ground on that when he did that transverse back to left or right on the Mustang. It wasn't quite as sharp.
Porsches have always been known for being good on the brakes. With more on the brand, here's Chris.
Yeah, Bob, just checked in with John Teesey, who runs that team, and he said they are in great shape. They will not need to come back to pit lane. No more pit stop for that team. And he said they have got a setup figured out on that car. They're not at all worried about that Mustang in front of them.
They're going to be stretching their fuel.
That's what I was wondering, can Spencer Pumpelly in the Porsche save fuel by running in the wake of the Mustang up ahead?
Well, it'll help it some, particularly in those 3 long those 2 really long straightaways. If you can tuck up underneath there, get that toe.
It's got to be fast enough to stay with him.
Yeah,
get the advantage. That's the one thing. If you get that big gap, several car lengths down the straightaways, you're really not saving fuel because you're hitting the air just like the leader is.
You can roll out of the throttle early approaching corners and save some fuel that way. But this racetrack has, we got a full course caution because of a car off. Just came out. It's the 196 we hear. I think it's up on top of the hill outside of turn 1.
So our third full course caution with less than 49 minutes to go.
another car off, too. There's the car that started at 196, and that is up top the hill.
Andrew Novich and Tom Dyer sharing the 196 RSR Motorsports Honda Civic. But you also saw the 181, the Volkswagen Jetta from APR Motorsport for Chris Locke and Alex Altberg. Now some cleanup to do here at Circuit of the Americas. We'll take a break. Coming up on 48 minutes remaining in round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Next Saturday here on Speed, witness one of the greatest endurance sports car events in the world, the 12 Hours of Sebring. A race that pushes man and machine to the limit and beyond. The American Le Mans Series 12 Hours of Sebring. Live coverage begins next Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, only here on Speed. In the distance, the capital of the state of Texas. Less than a half-hour drive from downtown Austin to the fabulous new Circuit of the Americas, where the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is running the second event of its 2013 season. Continental Tire is the official tire of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. Now let's get you updated on the highlights of the race thus far.
At the start, here we see Rich Gollinell looking to the inside. They're trying to go full wide up into turn 1. Wild stuff here at Circuit of the Americas, Dorsey.
That's where it all started. The first car with trouble right here, you see the Safina car in pit lane.
Odd moment here for John Edwards, who's got squirrely off of turn 1, and problems for the Doran Racing Nissan. Crashed earlier in the weekend, had problems. We'll get you more of the highlights later on. Right now we are going back to green, and Billy Johnson takes off in his bright red number 61 Mustang Boss 302.
Yeah, there was a lap car there, the 05, that the other front runners had to clear first. So that really gave Billy Johnson the breathing room he needed. Now he's going to get the hammer down. With this caution, we believe all of these front running GS cars are good on fuel.
On board with Brian Sellers in the number 46 car, shown as 6th right now, but that could change in a moment.
Billy Johnson's got a good run there, but the other car that really took off was Bill Oberlin, who's jumped in front and now of Spencer Pumpelli.
And he's got the fresher tires on, and he's been dynamite quick. His fastest lap of the race is at 2:19.6. Billy Johnson at 2:21.4. That is a monstrous margin, an advantage to have. So Billy Oberlin, expect him to close in and on leader.
That's the fastest car on the racetrack right before we got into this caution situation. We're talking about the second place car right there, the BMW Bill Oberlin, the blue and yellow Turner Motorsports BMW.
Matt Bell looking strong there in the Stevenson Camaro. He's up to 4th, putting the heat on Spencer Pumpelli.
That's been a great run for the number 9 car, the Camaro of Matt Bell, who took over for John Edwards. You saw that little squirrely moment early in the race. Then Edwards, feeling the effects of flu-like symptoms, asked to get out of the car. Matt Bell has it right up there in the thick of the fight with less than a half hour to go.
I'll tell you what, Spencer Pumpelli, the 3rd place car, the 38 Porsche right there, hanging tight with Bill Oberlin. That's a good guy to hang with right now, too.
Absolutely, but Bill, looking at his pace, he has it to spare, so he's still got to be patient. Just under 30 minutes to go. We know these caution periods here are lengthy, so he's got to be factoring that in as well. Track position is critical. You can't afford to just sit there and wait. You never know what will happen with traffic around this place.
Let's get more on Bill Oberlin's car with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, back in December, this team was here for a 2-day test, and they actually crashed that car twice going through the S's, because what they learned is banging off the curbs through the S's was getting some knockback in the brakes, so the brake pad was really coming off the rotor. As soon as you got done with the S's, you go back to that brake pedal, and there was nothing there. So what the team told me is they learned that they had to use a much beefier spring in the brake caliper to keep that pad up next to the rotor. Dors?
Yeah, that's a good deal. That's you push those tires up on top of the wheel on the curb like that, and the pistons get pushed back. Watch here, a good run going up the inside, side-by-side racing.
4th position.
Remember the fresher tires, run bump pitted, put right side tires on that car. He's probably got a little bit more grip than Brian Sellers that he's attacking right now.
One down the inside, big curbing, that little orange bump there at the apex. You do not want to use too much curb there in turn 1.
And that's what we're talking about with the brake knockback. What happens is you get up on the curb and it pushes the caliper, the pistons go back in. You have no brake pad at all. No
fight. Here's the ST battle.
Terry Borscheller there in the BMW has got around these Mazdas. What a move by that driver. This is a great little team, really strong BMW. This is a surprise. Mazda have been so strong all day, Bob.
Well, we've been talking about driver experience. Terry Borscheller in that 23 BMW, who's won more than a half dozen national championships in sports cars, goes down the inside. Oh, the 3 gets bumped sideways. Jason Saney
He's the local driver running for C.J. Wilson. Gets a tap there, it looked like.
Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
Terry Borscheller won the DP championship. He's won 2 Rolex 24s. Here we look at it. Oh, and he went to the outside of Terry, so you can't really lay all of the blame there. Saying he was really deep there on the brakes, looking for an outside move.
See what
Terry really didn't move on him, Doss.
Now, we'll see what the officials say. I don't think there's any harm there.
There's Tom Long in the 25 MX-5. So Saney, who was second on the restart, is now back to 10th in class.
Ian Boss up to third. He's got a bit of damage there on the back of that APR VW, though. You can see the tail hanging off at Dorsey.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. These guys now starting to push each other, rub each other. They're learning how to race this racetrack, Calvin.
Stephen McAleer has been dynamite here on his Grand Am debut. He's the MX-5 current champion from last year. Was leading this event. He's been bounced back a little bit now. There you see him in that blue number 5. Very impressive young driver.
Let's hear from his teammate with Brian.
Mark Miller right now watching the big screen and talking to Steve McAleer on the radio. What do you got to say to him, Mark, to make sure that he stays calm and tries to get those positions back, doesn't push too hard too soon and make a mistake?
Well, we know our Mazda MX-5 Cup, or MX-5 platform is very good. It just takes 2 or 3 laps for the front-wheel drive cars to really work their tires up to heat, and the turbo cars to get a little heat on them, and then we can settle into a nice rhythm. But everyone's really racy right now, so keeping them calm is really important, and just he knows he's good. We know he's good. We got a lot of confidence in him. We're just going to keep running, and hopefully it'll come our way if it stays green.
And both of these C.J. Wilson Mazdas have been very quick all weekend long, Bob.
Ambient temperature hovering about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. No clouds in the sky, so a lot of radiant energy from the sun keeping the track temperatures up. But as you just heard, they're having trouble getting the proper amount of heat into these tires. We'll take another break, show you the top 5 in GS and ST, and return with more the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge in just a moment. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas. Fans, go to speed2.com to watch your favorite racing series on demand. Full races from series such as DTM, FIA GT1, Australian V8 Supercars, Ferrari Challenge, and even full races from the Grand Am Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. That's speed2.com for all the information.
It's a battle for second place in GS right now. Here we see Spencer Pompelli has gotten around Billy Johnson. Up ahead there you can see on the current leader, Billy Orton. We talked about the pace that he's had. Fresher tires, he's taking it to the front.
Yeah, he's running away with it right now. Spencer Pompelli did a good job getting around Billy Johnson as well. Both those cars look in good shape. I don't know if there's anybody going to have anything for Oberlin right now, though.
Great battle here. 48 car. Charles Aspinall has done a great job. He's got that 4-line BMW up to the 4th spot. He's demoted Matt Bell. Plummer's coming through the field, though. That run bump Porsche is fast. They played the same strategy as Oberlin, but didn't quite have the same track position. He's mired in a battle right now.
They definitely learned the track, like you were talking about, Kevin. They've learned how to race on this track. They know what they can get away with now and what they can't. And they're getting more aggressive as we get toward the end here.
On board with Brian Sellers, looking ahead at Matt Plum in 6th place.
You watch these cars dance around, coming off these corners. It shows you how edgy they are.
Hearing a report from the guys down in pit lane that the 9 car is having to save fuel a little bit. So by running their strategy, they're saying they're running awfully close with 21 minutes to go. And there's a couple other cars in this lead pack are on the same numbers. So they've probably got the same issue.
They'd love to see a little yellow, not much of one. I mean, any yellow here to help them out a lot. Without it, though, if they got to save fuel, they got to start rolling out of the throttle early and coasting some.
Love tap there from Matt Plum on Matt Bell. Oh, the 61 car.
Got a problem. Billy Johnson. What is going on? Brian Till, what can you tell us?
Well, Jack Rouse Jr. is as confused as the rest of us. He's just looked up at the screen. He doesn't have his headset on. The crew going to work right now. They're on the radio. They're going to try to find out what's going on. But, Jack, you have no idea, right?
I don't. No pressure. The car actually was running okay today. It was a challenge out there against the lighter weight cars, especially at this track. Billy said that he thought the engine might be a little soft. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I don't know, time will tell here.
Yeah, we're here in field pressure right now. We're going to get out of the way as Billy Johnson heads to pit road, guys.
Well, unless they had a refueling issue, Dorsey, it's 20 laps. That's not enough to run out of fuel. We thought they might be tight and needing a splash at the end, but that shouldn't be the issue unless they had some kind of refueling problem when they last pitted. But we talk about that team. They win a lot of races, but they can't afford to have these disasters where they really don't get many points on the day.
Now, fuel pressure, other than being out of fuel, the obvious, you know, you got fuel pressure pumps in there and so forth. You have lines that could come loose, but you're right, Calvin. These guys cannot throw races out and try to hope for win a championship.
And this now becomes a battle for 4th place. Espinlov, Bell, Plum, now 3rd place.
This is good stuff. Charles Espinlov really looking forward. He's heading over to Europe next week with Charlie Putman. They're going to be running in the World Endurance Championship. He's running at races like Monza, Silverstone, Spa. He is so pumped up. Never been to Europe to race before, so this is a big change for him, and he's really pumped up about it.
61 now on pit lane. Get more on that story in a moment, but right now, with less than 20 minutes to go in the race, great battle in GS. Brian, have you got it?
Billy's in, and the report for the crew member a moment ago is engine, and I do see oil on top of the valve covers on the right side of this big V8 underneath the hood of this Mustang, so there is some oil on there. Engine sounds okay as he's sitting here running it, maybe soft on one cylinder, but the guy's going to work checking all the electrical connections, and like I said, we've got some oil on the right side over here. And we talked about this at the beginning of the show, and guys, you were just mentioning it as well. In this series, they've had these problems before. They run really well, and then they have a hiccup. And when you do, it costs you a championship. The engine being shut down right now by Johnson.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, it said fuel pressure, so the oil leak's probably something completely different, not related to what the problem that brought the car in is.
That may have related to the pace. We talked about Billy Oberlin having such a huge margin over Billy Johnson in terms of his lap speed. Maybe Johnson was fighting an engine that's been a little bit soft all day.
Could be. Very well could be.
Now back to the ST class.
Terry Borscheller still holding the lead there, but not by very much, as Tom Long is right there.
Terry Borscheller is a hungry driver. He doesn't have a DP ride this year in the Rolex series. This is really his only full-time ride. And that kind of gives you a little bit of extra inspiration, Dorsey. You want to prove to people that you're still a race winner and try and get back to the Rolex series. He's done a great job here today.
4 thousandths of a second between these two first and second place cars in ST, and we hear that Billy Johnson and the Roush Mustang is being pushed behind the wall.
Wow. What a come down for that team. But there's a long way to go in 2013. Borscheller leads Long in ST by about a half second, then about 1 3/4 second back to the 3rd place Mazda of Pierre Kleinubing.
He and Boss up to 4th position. He got it way deep in the pack. So this is a brilliant performance by this team. Spoke to them a little bit about their overboosting issues, and they said the problem is the series are really on top of us. If we try and give them margin, what they're talking about is the boost spikes, Dorsey, and then they're really deemed to be illegal. They try and create a bit more of a margin. Then they say people think we're sandbagging. So it's a really fine line walking across that where you don't get dinged. Look at this. Oh, Long deep on the brakes to the inside of Terry Borscheller coming on the front straightaway.
Now it's a drag race, but it doesn't work out that way. Terry takes that position back. That slide mid-corner slowed the Mazda up too much, lost momentum.
Great view of what some of the drivers refer to as the wall. You come off turn 20, look down that long straightaway past the flag man, and the track just reaches for the sky. We'll take a break and return with more of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge from Circuit of the Americas in Texas.
Round 2 of the 2013 Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series from Circuit of the Americas continues, and the problems continue. We just saw Billy Johnson down at Roush Racing with a problem in his Mustang, and now another leader, former leader I should say, the 01, the CKS Camaro. Right now Eric Kern behind the wheel, sitting idle on pit lane. They have lost drive in this Camaro, so right now the crew going to work seeing if they can find out if it's an axle and get this car back on track and salvage as many points as they can, but luck not going their way down here at CKS.
Another championship contender, and they were looking at the they were looking at the rear gear and the drive shaft. You had one guy looking on the drive shaft, one guy at the rear gear, so he's lost drive. The other thing it could be is an input shaft up on the front end of that.
Back on point, the bright yellow number 96 Turner BMW of Bill Arberlin. And the second place car, the Porsche of Spencer Pompelli, right there in your picture.
Look at it carry that right front wheel to that corner. It's cool.
Billy Orblin should be in good shape here. He's got 10 more laps of fuel on board than Spencer Pompelli, so that shouldn't be an issue for him. Spencer's pushing hard, so I have to think that TC has told him, you're okay on fuel, go chase that leader down. This is a pair of drivers who had problems in round one. We'd see leaders having problems here today. Big championship contenders. Orblin lost the motor. Spencer Pompelli had a penalty right at the end of the race, cost him a lap and dropped him way down the order. So these guys are in recovery mode in terms of championship as well.
Now back to the ST battle, even closer. Terry Borcheller over Tom Long.
These two cars gain their speed in different areas. I suspect that the BMW is a little bit better coming off the corner and on top end. Tom Long gets a run there. You see it right now. It could be gearing, too, that makes this look this way. Yep, but the BMW, see, stretches his legs. It's going to be a hard battle right there to get around that BMW based on this.
Yeah, that Mazda really rolls a lot of apex speed. It's really suited to the nature of this race circuit. They run those cars really stiff. It's very smooth here. And that allows the platform to keep working. There he looks. This is what we're going to see. They're going to be probing for a way by in these last few laps. This racetrack kind of invites that. It's so wide open. Gives plenty of passing opportunities with this style of car.
And for Tom Long, losing top-end speed, he's got to do it here. He's got to do it in the S's and get by and open up enough a lead that when the straightaway comes, he doesn't just get repassed again. And he's going to try a little bump and run.
Tell you what, you give a little bump in the wrong pointer through these S's. These cars are really loaded up through this. Hard changes of direction. It slows down a little bit here through turn 8 and 9. And then you're hard on the power coming off this one through this fast left-hand sweep down into the brake zone for turn 11.
And traffic ahead.
We've seen these ST cars rough up the GS cars today. If you're in a way, we're coming through.
Let's get more on Borcheller now with Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, Terry Borcheller just having a great run today. This team had problems at Daytona, engine problems there. They finished the race 28th. And today, because of contact yesterday, they actually started this race from pit lane. They were still fixing the car. They found something right before the race that still needed to be fixed. So when the green flag came down today, that 23 BMW was actually sitting here in pit lane.
This is a great little team. Burton Racing fielding this number 23 BMW, doing an awesome job. The car looks impeccably prepared, and it's showing great performance as well. And with Terry Borcheller, has so much experience. He's got 3 Rolex championships behind him, including 2 Rolex 24 wins. You couldn't have a better driver behind the wheel to lead the charge today.
Last time by, Tom Long, 1/10 of a second quicker than leader Borcheller. Up front, slightly bigger gap between Bill Arberlin and Spencer Pompelli. Coming up on 10 minutes to go here at Circuit of the Americas. Stand by. Back in Austin, Texas, don't forget Monday night, NASCAR Race Hub is Don't Miss Television. Hear directly from the drivers and get the ultimate breakdown of this weekend's Sprint Cup race from Las Vegas. NASCAR Race Hub, Monday night, 6 Eastern, exclusively here on Speed. Battle for third place in GS and the overall here at Circuit of the Americas.
Espen Laub there currently leading this battle, but Matt Bell has been all over him, and Brian Sellers has caught up with these guys as well. So 2 full-line BMWs going up against the Camaro. The Camaro's getting a little bit squirrely, and we call Matt Bell Mr. Car Control. He displays it every weekend.
And not only that, look, it's not just those guys. It's the 13 Rum Bum, and it's, you know, right behind that is the Aston Martin, and those guys just almost crashed each other just about a lap ago. Matt Plum under a lot of pressure. Scott Maxwell pushing on him hard.
He had that spin and got away with it, so Scotty's in recovery mode. Great performance here, back up to 7. Plum and Sellers, this has been fight all the way here since that last restart. Plum got around Sellers, and he's obviously returned the favor. Here we see Matt Bell taking the 3rd position away. Can he make it stick? See the weight transfer of that Camaro down through these fast S's. There's a lot of weight you're shifting side to side.
Slamming across those curbs. That's on the flat part of the racetrack up there. You can get away with it. The further down you get, though, you better be more tidy than that.
Look at Plum. He's looking for a way through, probing. So hard when you're in a pack like this. You're looking for a way by the car in front of you, but if you wait and set someone up, suddenly you open the door for someone else. Look, SD on the left. This is for the lead.
Tom Long inside for sure as Terry Borcheller and him side by side. BMW's got top end, but nope.
He's He's got the inside
still
for that
side
next
by
corner.
side.
This, Borchellen's going to force it to the inside on the front straightaway.
Cut to the inside, try to run up the inside long wheel, but he doesn't have the power to do that.
Meanwhile, on the right, Matt Bell got 2 wheels on the right side off, but managed to gather it back up and stay in the middle of this fight. I was here for the grand opening of the Circuit of the Americas last year, and no less a star than Mario Andretti went around in a vintage Formula One car. And I asked him what the key point of the racetrack was, and he said, without question, oh, and Bell pulls to a stop.
Well, I don't know if he pulled to a stop. I think he spun to a stop.
Spun to a stop.
And he might have been helped to do it. We don't know that yet. That's speculation.
But to finish the thought, Mario said it was definitely those S's on the first half of the lap. If you get the first one wrong, the rest of the lap
Look
is
at Maxwell all the way down on the inside. Yeah, God, it's so tempting. It's wide open there. We've talked about it, Dorsey. Maxwell trying to take a couple of spots, and watch this. Look all the way to the left. There he is.
And we knew it was going to happen, Calvin. I mean, it's so inviting to make that narrow entry to a corner.
8 minutes to go.
Well to avoid it.
He did. Just really heads up driving by Brian.
There's Bell's off.
Yep.
This is what set that whole situation up, I think.
Yeah, that's what stacked them up. Yeah, stacked them up, and then it just left that. Well, it looks like the door's open, but you got to make the corner.
Eventually that car's going to come across. When you set up wide, you're eventually going to go for that apex, and suddenly you've got a car down on the inside. It does not work. Look at this. The lead is heating up. Spencer Pumpelly is getting that Porsche to work.
This is the part of the track we were talking about. The S's. Left, right, left, right.
Is Bill Auberlen managing this race? Is he just trying to save some rubber in case we get a late restart or anything? But Spencer Pumpelly, look at this. BGB, their drivers won the championship last year. David Empringham and Ferrano without a race win. Can Spencer Pumpelly hit victory lane here today?
And you can see the lateral load they're putting on those cars as the tires coming up. Watch the front tires. They lift completely.
Look at this. Auberlen defends. Pumpelly even deeper. That is awesome.
He'll cut in. He'll try to get down the inside. Won't work.
These guys have raced each other for decades, so they know each other very well. To Chris Neville on the 96.
Well, Calvin, you were asking the question a minute ago. Is Bill Auberlen maybe managing his tires? And I can tell you right now, I just talked to the team, and they say that he is driving as hard as he can out there. He's trying to get everything he can out of that BMW. So we're going to see these guys fight tooth and nail for this next 6 minutes and 35 seconds.
Oh, they bump. Look at that. They bump. They got to keep it clean. But I tell you what, this is an impressive performance by Spencer Pumpelly because he's got 10 more laps on those tires. So the fact that he's got enough grip to force the issue on Auberlen is something else.
Meanwhile, the hammer has come down from race control for Scott Maxwell for that contact with Matt Bell. Stop and go plus 60 seconds for avoidable contact. The 55 Aston Martin Vantage will be in pit lane as this race comes to a conclusion.
There was no doubt about what the fault was there, or who was at fault. And it's a big penalty to pay, though.
It's ST battle. There's someone else joining the mix here. Stephen McLeod's recovered. He's up to third.
We've got to take another break, but we won't let you miss a thing. Stand by for the dramatic conclusion of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, round 2 for 2013 from Austin, Texas. Welcome back with Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, and Brian Till. I'm Bob Varsha. Closing minutes of round 2 of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge for 2013. We said before we went to break we wouldn't let you miss anything. There was a change in the lead in the ST class, and we'll show it to you now. Tom Long attacking on the brakes on class leader Terry Borchello.
It's at the end of this straightaway. He gets to run down the inside. Calvin, this is where he needs to make this pass. He's going to have to open up a lead now so he gets enough of a gap when they get to the straightaway. The BMW can't just pounce.
Yeah, that's the key. And Auberlen being real aggressive, wanting that lead back. He realized the minutes are dwindling down. He wants another victory. That's what he's all about. He's going to miss some of these races, so he's trying to enable Paul Dall'Anna to win the Drivers' Championship. But for Billy, he loves those race wins.
And I was wondering if Spencer Pumpelly hadn't just backed up to let himself cool down a little because he's got one more charge to do, doesn't he?
Look at this, Terry Borchella back at the front, so he's using that BMW power to good effect on the straightaways, Dorsey. McAleer up to second, here's Long. This is a pass for second between the two Mazdas. But look at that BMW stretcher on the long run here up the hill to turn 1.
Long needs to get as close to the back of that BMW as possible and get that draft advantage. He's down on power to the BMW, but that would certainly help his cause.
For more on this battle, here's Brian.
Terry Borcheller's concern and the concern of Burton Racing is that there is a Grand Sport Mustang in front of this threesome running right now in ST, a little bit off the pace, and certainly through the S's. They're afraid that Terry Borcheller in his ST BMW is going to catch that car, get balked, and lose the lead again. So right now trying to work with officials to make sure the driver of that Grand Sport Mustang in front of this group knows that they're coming. They want him out of the way.
Oh, look at the ground that the Mazdas make up there at the end of the S's, though, Dorsey. Yeah, really closing in on Borchella, but fortunately for him, he's going to come through this fast kink down in that brake zone where Long got him last time, but then he has that long straightaway to try and use his muscle.
Terry Borchella catches that Mustang, though, before he gets down to this corner. He's not going to. There's the Mustang we're talking about. It's about to go a lap down to these guys. You know, if he's got to even just live for a minute, those Mazdas, and there's 2 of them now, we're going to make it a double team on that BMW.
Problem for Terry is that GS car, Bob, is a little bit faster down the straightaway, so he's going to hit him in the corners again. He can't clear him right now.
Exactly. I was thinking as they came off the corner, he might have caught him at just the right spot to power by him, but that GS car has more horsepower, and he could stay ahead of this group until they get to the twisty sections again, and they have a problem with him. On the right, race lead in the GS class, Oberlin and Pumpelly still less than a car length apart.
Boy, Pumpelly's car is hooked up. He's done a brilliant job here, put in the heat on Billy Oberlin, but he's one of the most experienced drivers in this championship. He doesn't want to let this one slip through his fingers. Can Oberlin hang on?
Well, if he does, he's got one more lap to do it here coming up. Oh, a lot of traffic up in front of these guys.
This is going to be a chess game here for this last lap or so. Oberlin has to thread his way through. Slow Pumpelly up where he needs to, and then just get a good launch to clear the...
Oh, look, he blocked that maneuver. Pumpelly tried to run the outside line. Bill knew it was coming, though. He anticipated.
It's hard with this race circuit, though, Dorsey, to stay on line where the other guy can't get by you because there's so many options here. It's so wide on the entry to some of these corners.
Desperation, Calvin. You know what we're talking about. Just a little bump at a loaded part of the corner is going to send you flying.
You've got 90 seconds to figure out something.
3 BMWs in the top 4. It's Oberlin, followed by a Porsche, then the 2 4-line BMWs, then Matt Plum in the Porsche.
And traffic is going to be an issue here.
Yep.
Oberlin gets his final turn. Oh, Pumpelly looked to the inside. Oberlin blocks him. Shut the door.
Yeah, he's not going to leave any gap open. Oberlin's driving from the back mirror now.
Less than a minute to go.
1 to go.
Oh, look at this. Will those ST cars see Billy Oberlin coming up to the right side of them? He clears them. Can Pumpelly do the same? No, he cannot.
No, he can't. He's got a problem now as they go down the hill.
There's your move. There's your winning move right there.
Now he's through. Now he's got some work to do. Can he make it happen over the next 3 miles of this racetrack?
He's got to catch him now. That's all he needed. I mean, that just opened up about a 10-car length gap. You won't get that back in 1 lap.
I agree. The cars are so evenly matched that Pumpelly really has more work ahead of him than I think that car will manage for him.
Tell you what, though, Billy Oberlin caught a break there, Bob, because going up the hill, I was worried one of those ST cars was going to go back on the racing line and not see him. When you're racing in a big pack like that, you can't see the car coming through, the faster GS machine.
Well, we see it so often in racing, all the preparation in the world and all the experience behind the wheel in the form of the driver. You still need a little bit of luck for that decisive moment that marks the difference between winning and finishing second.
We know Bill doesn't make many mistakes. I mean, it would take something like some traffic to hold him up. Here's your ST. It's not over with.
And it's McAleer on his Grand Am debut. He takes the lead from Borchella on the final lap.
I wonder if Terry didn't even know he was back there more than likely.
Champion in the SCCA sanctioned Playboy MX-5 Cup last year. His first season in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. And Stephen McAleer of Scotland has shown that he is the master of the MX-5.
Not over with yet, though.
No.
That's for sure. they got a long way to go too.
Yeah, they got another full lap because the GS cars are on their final lap, but these ST cars are a little bit further back, so he's got one more lap to go. Can he hang on? I mean, Terry Borchell has been swatting these Mazdas away like flies today, but can he have enough of a hand here to try and trample this one in front of him right now? See the power there up the hill.
You know, Tom Long could get by. The two Mazdas could hold that BMW back.
Well, here is Bill Auberlen, who has had an absolutely outstanding race. And he will take the number 96 Turner Motorsport BMW M3 to victory in GS in Austin.
What a bounce back for Turner Motorsports. DNF at Daytona, they win round 2 here in Austin. There's Paul Dallalana. He won the championship a couple of years ago. He wants to be back on top.
You saw that fist pump out the window by Bill Auberlen. That tells you just how much everybody wants to be a winner in the inaugural race here at Circuit of the Americas.
And that wasn't easy, believe me. He really had to muster it up on that last lap. And that traffic, he did it right. He read it, and he made that move that won the race for him.
Does Stephen McAleer have a wingman here? Can Tom Long get into Terry Borcheller and stop him from putting the attack on Stephen? Look at here. He'll come on straight away. This is where that BMW's got to try and catch the Mazda in front of him. McAleer goes to the left side of the straightaway, trying to defend.
He didn't get a good run. I'm talking about Borcheller. The BMW wagged its tail about 3 times. He's got top speed. He's coming around the outside.
It's going to be a braking war down into turn 12. Here we go. Can McAleer return the favor on Terry Borcheller? He's going to come to the inside right now.
Oh, it's not enough. I mean, he's right there. He's got to bump it and loosen him off. Otherwise, he's not going to get it done.
Borcheller defends, tucks it to the inside. Long's there. Can he take advantage of these guys battling? Gets the traction down.
Good run.
McAleer back through, but we're not done yet.
Now, don't leave that inside.
Long gets
Long. That's going to seal the deal for Mazda. That takes Terry out of that position for sure.
Mazda's 1-2.
Long right-hand sweeper, then a couple of hard lefts, and the checkered flag awaits. What a final lap in the ST class.
Beautiful move there, tucking to the inside. And then we talked about Long being the wingman. That's exactly what he did.
He played it perfect. He sealed the deal for Mazda. Whether it's a 1-2 or a 1 finish, it doesn't make any difference, but it's going to be a 1-2.
Final corner, turn 20. And on to the checkered flag. Stephen McAleer, in only his second Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race, will go to victory lane for Mazda.
What a job. What a day. CJ Wilson team, they're going to be pumped. Had 2 really strong cars here today.
High fives all around. Oh, to be the inaugural winner. Here's the move of the race in the ST class. As Long goes down the inside and ensures that McAleer goes to victory lane. Speed's coverage of the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge is presented by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. Here's a look at Wild Bubba's Wild Game Grill in Elroy, Texas, not far from the Circuit of the Americas, and a big favorite with our speed crew. After an awesome CTSEC race, let's get down to victory lane and Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, and the record books are going to read for race 1 for Continental Tire Challenge. Bill Auberlen, Paul Dallalana, great job today, Bill. Bill, talk us through that great move here on the front straightaway on that last lap, getting around that ST traffic.
I picked right. I don't know what he picked, but it was a traffic jam, and I needed the help of them. I was out of tire, and he was very strong. Spencer was very strong. We haven't been here in a while. It's been a tough haul for Turner. Usually these guys are all over the podium. Paul, thanks for getting me here. Kevin, all my guys. Will Turner. I mean, Continental Tires have been great. Wow, first win for Grand Am in Circuit of the Americas. I'm very proud to carry that flag with Paul.
Paul, 2012 was pretty tough. No wins last year, but you guys get the win. Second round this year, also at this new great facility.
Yeah, love the place. I got to thank Continental Tire, of course, and Turner team. Thank you, guys. It's really been great. Fantastic to be here.
Brian?
Well, in ST with Steve McAleer, what a spectacular last lap. Did you think going down that long back straightaway when Terry motored by you that you were going to have a chance to get it back?
Well, I was kicking myself because we came on the radio, and I actually missed the shift from second to third on the last lap there. And I thought that would be pretty disappointing to lose it. So I knew they were going to be tough. I knew Tom was right there. And yeah, when he got past me again, I thought let's take a little chance here.
The first win for C.J. Wilson Racing, and Mark Miller, you've been here. I know this is emotional for you. I saw the tears in your eyes. Have you? Yes, I did. Have you sent the text yet to C.J. and told him that, hey, buddy, we've won our first one?
No, you know what? We've got a very exuberant PR guy that probably sent him 40 of them. So good luck, C.J. You're pitching today. We're thinking of you, but, you know, we're going to be thinking about that champagne a lot more, I think. I really want to thank Steven. You know, he came to this race and just performed well. You know, we're going to be swapping here back and forth all year, and you know, when we have a solid driver lineup like this, it just takes some of the pressure off, and he performed awesome, and we can't thank the team, Austin-based team, enough. It's nice to be here. Thanks again to Mazda. We had a great platform today.
Local boys did good. Congratulations on their first victory in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, Bob.
That's right. We add our congratulations as well. Second race of the season. Time to start looking at the championship as it shapes up. Here are the GS points.
Well, there's a lot of power players in that list already, but Longy and Plum so close to a championship last year. Lost on a technicality, really. They head the heat right now, Dorsey.
Absolutely. Of course, the disappointment was Roush Racing again, who had a bad showing here when they had a mechanical difficulty. That drops them out of the points, and they did such a good job at Daytona.
Well, I tell you what, this racetrack didn't disappoint, boys. I mean, there was some exciting racing. There's so many new passing opportunities we didn't know about that we saw here in the last few laps.
Well, we knew it was going to come down to the end, and we knew there was going to be some fireworks. They didn't disappoint in Texas.
Absolutely. It was everything we thought the race would be. Not so sure about Brian Till's Spurs, but that's another story. Join us for the next round of the championship for Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama in early April. Great day here in Austin, proving that Circuit of the Americas is truly one of the world's great new racetracks. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, and Chris Neville, I'm Bob Varsha. So long from Austin, Texas.